Hello, everyone, and welcome to a bonus segment of the Brothers Take. I'm Chris, and in today's segment, I'm going to be ranking Daniel Craig's James Bond movies to celebrate the recent launch of No Time to Die, his final performance as the titular character, James Bond, Agent 007. This list is not going to include that movie, only because at time of recording, haven't seen it yet. I'm really looking forward to it, but I haven't seen it yet. But to kind of celebrate it, I wanted to rank the other movies, and then maybe we'll revisit this topic to see where that would fall, or maybe this is something that the brothers would like to discuss. Just so you know as well, normally this is a gaming podcast channel. For anyone who's been here before, you would know that, but for anyone who's new, we normally talk about video games on the main podcast, and that's why this is a bonus. Bonuses happen when one or all of us want to talk about topics that are outside the realm of gaming, which we also have huge interest in, or if there is a gaming topic that we want to talk about, but it's a much shorter and much more direct topic that wouldn't fall into our usual episodes. But we do release long weekly episodes about gaming, and we would love you guys to check them out. But for this little bonus segment, I definitely wanted to talk about this because I'm a huge Bond fan. Anyone who has listened to us before knows that I'm a huge Batman fan, and anyone who knows me knows that, but they probably would know as well that I'm a huge James Bond fan. Now, the reason I bring up Batman is because I think the two have a lot in common. They're both orphans. They both have a very long history. They both have a complicated relationship with women, with trusting others. They have gone through many, many phases, whether it's sort of a more campy style to a more gritty style. They've gone through various iterations. Various actors have played them. They often go up against maniacal villains. They drive cool cars and use cool gadgets. And this whole Daniel Craig era came about because of when Christopher Nolan rebooted Batman with Batman Begins with Warner Brothers. MGM were kind of inspired by that, which is why they rebooted the whole Bond franchise after Die Another Day with Casino Royale and Daniel Craig's first outing. So that's kind of where this whole thing came about. And those Batman influences have fallen into these kind of movies, you know? So I think that's a cool comparison. I think these two heroes do have a lot in common. And I think that's one of the things that I like about the two of them is that they both fall into these trends of certain things that I like in terms of being complicated anti-heroes in a way. You know, they're not necessarily the nicest people, and you could write a psych profile on both, you know, and the more time has gone on, the more writers and creative people have decided to do that. And this Daniel Craig era has definitely been that, where they have looked at Bond as a character, looked at how complicated he is, and humanized him in a way that hadn't really been done before. They've always touched on certain topics before, but I think this has definitely been the most vulnerable version of Bond and the most kind of off the rails version of Bond at times as well. But for now, I would like to rank the 4 previous movies to No Time to Die, and I very much look forward to seeing No Time to Die. So we'll probably give thoughts on that after seeing it. So starting at number 4 is Quantum of Solace, which is probably no surprise to people. I think this one is probably largely the least favored of Craig's outings. Now, he's not bad in this movie. I went and rewatched all these, by the way, before doing this to kind of refresh myself. But I know these movies quite well. I'm a huge Bond fan. But he's not bad in it, and there's some great action sequences in it. But ultimately, the story as a whole feels somewhat lackluster. It actually takes a little bit of the punch out of the ending of Casino Royale by having the Mr. White character. By the way, spoilers for all these movies if you haven't seen them. I'm going to keep going here. There's spoilers for all the movies that I bring up today if you haven't seen them. But it takes a little bit of the punch out of Casino Royale by having Mr. White survive and escape and get away. And I know that plays into stuff later on. But at the time, that was a little bit disappointing because I thought the ending of Casino Royale was so strong. There's some great action sequences in Quantum, but overall, it's missing a lot of Bondisms. Bond movies should be great action movies, but there's a lot more to them than just that. I think the villain was not very memorable. The overall plot, it's like as if the character Bond was thrown into a different movie and a different sort of plot. It was more of like a Bourne kind of adventure almost that he was thrown into. I do like Olga Kurylenko as Camille. I think she's great, and I think her character arc is fantastic. She's probably her arc is probably the best storyline of the movie, but everything else is a bit hit or miss. And I thought the song was quite weak. And I like Jack White and I like Alicia Keys. They're both incredibly talented musicians and artists, but this song, it doesn't even sound fully produced. It sounds off. It doesn't sound right. And coming off of after Chris Cornell's performance, I don't know. It didn't hit right, I don't think. A spot number 3 is Spectre. I don't know if this would surprise people either, actually. But maybe for some people, Spectre might be their favorite. I don't know. There's a lot to like about Spectre. That long opening with the kind of long shot, which of course led Sam Mendes, who was the director, to go on to do 1917 afterwards, because he was just so fascinated by that whole idea. It's a really cool opening. And there's some great sequences in this movie, and there's some great ideas. And I remember Spectre is probably the James Bond movie that I was most excited for when it was announced, purely based off the title alone. I'm a huge fan of the early James Bond movies, and I loved the kind of Spectre era. I thought they were great villains, and Blofeld was always one of my favorite James Bond villains because he was the only one that was more reoccurring. There was glimpses of him stroking the cat for a while, and it took a while before you finally saw him. So when I just saw the name reveal of Spectre before I'd seen any trailers, I lost my mind. I was so excited. I was like, that is a great title for a Bond movie that speaks to, it's not, they've run out of the books kind of, you know what I mean? So it's not named after any of the books, but it's named after a piece of James Bond history that is canon in the book. So I thought it was a great title to use. But then when the movie actually came out, I think some of the sequencing is a bit off. And then I think there's some stuff to really enjoy in this movie, but ultimately Christoph Waltz being Blofeld was a pretty cool casting choice. And I don't know why they tried to mislead us, because everyone knew straight off the bat the movie's called Spectre and Christoph Waltz is in it. It's like he's totally playing Blofeld. But then having this weird twist where he was like James Bond's brother, as well as the orchestrator behind all of the previous movies, and he was all, it was like, can he not just be Blofeld, and we will understand the importance of that, and through this adventure they will become arch enemies, as opposed to this long lasting history between the two of them where it's like, and the way they delivered the line as well was like as if it was like the Star Trek Into Darkness moment. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but where Benedict Cumberbatch says, "I am Khan," and you're like, and it's just the way it was done. It's like, I'm actually Blofeld after my mother, and you're like, okay, so what? We knew, who cares? So lots of stuff to like in it, some great action sequences, but ultimately the plot fell flat for me, and wasn't crazy about the Sam Smith song. It is a good song, it's well written and well performed, but it's also a little bit lackluster for a movie called Spectre. I thought it evoked the wrong energy, but I get that that song spoke more to the love story that was taking place within the movie between Bond and Madeline Swan, which it seems like from the trailers is continuing in No Time to Die. So I am curious to see where that goes. Spot number 2. So now it's between Skyfall and Casino Royale, which I think they're the two that everyone debates between which was the best Daniel Craig movie up until, of course, No Time to Die, and we'll see where that ranks. Spot number 2 for me is Skyfall, which is a fucking awesome movie. Really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought Javier Bardem's Raul Silva was a great villain. He did feel very much inspired by the likes of a Christopher Nolan kind of Dark Knight villain. But I thought he also fit really well into this world. I liked that he came from M's past, and that this time, this movie was personal for Bond, but it was also personal for M. It was a great outing for Judi Dench as M, who to this day is still my favorite incarnation of M. I think she's amazing, but I also thought that was really kind of ballsy and a good turn of events. it's not often that a Bond movie ends with like kind of shocking implications, but then it also ended in such a way where it felt like it'd come full circle and we'd gone back to kind of the OG feeling of Bond, where he goes in, he talks to Moneypenny, he opens the old red door. There's a new M who's more, reminds me of like the older M of the older movies. So I thought that was all really, really cool. And this idea of a Bond coming, like, who's at the end of his kind of career almost. Like, it's fascinating to me that Daniel Craig, in his 10 years Bond, has had the opportunity to play Bond's origins and like the end of Bond's career. Like, he's probably had of all the actors, he's had the best opportunity to play Bond because he's had a chance to kind of explore the character at the most interesting parts. It was always weird to me when Skyfall started, though, that after seeing Casino Royale and Quantum, which both stand as kind of origin movies that you would think you're going, it sort of skips, I suppose, there's many adventures in between, but it's like he goes from young Bond to suddenly old Bond, and it felt a little bit weird at first, but I really liked the story that told there. I liked that they dug a little bit into Bond's origins a bit, which they have done previously. They mentioned even in the Pierce Brosnan area, they talk about, and on Her Majesty's Secret Service, they talk about Bond's past and the fact that he's an orphan, but they actually went to his home place this time around, and no one knew what Skyfall meant, but that lovely tease in the trailer initially with the psychiatrist had us all wondering why it affected Bond so much, and to finally see what it meant, this word that was so out of context, I thought was a really great drop. And speaking of Skyfall, the song itself by Adele, amazing, loved it. And I think everyone thought she was a perfect match. Like, there was no question about it. Adele is like a modern day Shirley Bassey. It harkens back to like real old school Bond theme songs, as well as having Adele's modern take on it. Really, really powerful song and great opening visuals. I was hooked straight away then. Like, the movie just took me on a ride and I loved it. Which means that number one for me is Casino Royale. Not only is this my favorite Daniel Craig Bond movie, but as it stands at the moment, and I'm not like this isn't where I jumped in on. The first Bond movie I ever saw, by my recollection, was Live and Let Die. I've been watching these movies since I was like 7-8 years old. They were my favorite movies in primary school. I love these movies my whole life, but Casino Royale is actually my favorite James Bond movie because I think it stayed true to his character, but it also played around with the cliches of it. It made it grittier. It made him realer. The action sequences are fantastic. Like, they're so good. Bond bleeds more in this one. It's the whole thing is grittier, but it also stays pretty true to the book. And like that scene where Bond gets tortured, oh my god, Mads Mikkelsen as Le Chiffre, amazing, and Eva Green as Vesper Lynd, like their chemistry is incredible. And I think like having lots and lots of action so that you understand they knew that there's going to be a long part of this movie where they're playing poker, so they have lots of action in the beginning, then they have the kind of long poker middle, and then some action at the end. But actually, even like during the poker game, they keep the whole thing riveting and intense, whether it's Le Chiffre playing games by giving a false bluff, or whether it's Bond getting poisoned, and oh man, there's so much in it. And Chris Cornell's theme song as well. The intro to Casino Royale is probably still my favorite Bond intro. It's so gritty and grainy and so well directed. You have two different versions of black and white: a cleaner black and white for his cleaner kill, and a grittier black and white for his grittier kill in the bathroom, and then launching into the gun barrel for the song. Like, amazing. And the way this film ends is also my favorite James Bond ending to date, where he shoots Mr. White in the leg and then finally says the name's Bond, James Bond, does that name drop, and then the old theme tune, which was teased throughout the movie but you never got to hear, finally plays. And I don't know, every time I watch Casino Royale, I never get sick of it. I think it's like a perfect Bond movie that stays true to who he is. I guess for a lot of people, it misses the gadgets, and I like the gadgets too, but I think it gets to the heart of who Bond really is. And gadgets are cool, but that's not what makes Bond. They're a nice plus, but you can have Bond without gadgets, and I think Casino Royale proved that. So that's my number one Daniel Craig and my number one Bond movie, at the moment, but I'm looking forward to seeing No Time to Die and seeing where that will rank after the fact. But now I'd love to hear from all you guys. So make sure to get in touch. Jump down into the comments if you're watching this on YouTube and let us know your rankings of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. If you've seen No Time to Die, no spoilers, but what you think of it. And in general, what's your favorite James Bond movie? I'd love to know. If you're listening to us on audio platforms, then you can also touch base with social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take to let us know your take on the Daniel Craig Bond movies and Bond in general. Again, if you're new here, this is a weekly podcast. This is a bonus segment, but we do have weekly gaming discussions. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click that notification bell so you know if future content comes out. Give this a thumbs up. And if this is on the other platforms, then hit follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you like to listen to podcasts. But thank you very much for listening, everybody. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time.